One of Colombia's most notorious drug lords, Otoniel, has a story that spans decades and is full of intrigue, murder, and fights for power. Otoniel was born Dairo Antonio Usuga David on March 1, 1971. His rise to fame in the Colombian drug trade was as fast and dramatic as his fall. This video goes into detail about Otoniel's life, starting with his humble beginnings and ending with his dramatic fall from power as leader of the notorious Gulf clan. Otoniel grew up in a small town in Antioquia, Colombia that was poor and small. In his early years, he was poor and didn't have many options. He also saw the harsh facts of the drug trade, which had been a problem in his country for decades. Otoniel's family had a hard time making ends meet, and that's when he started to see the draw of the drug trade as a way to get away from his life. As a young man, he got involved in illegal activities, which pointed to his future as a drug boss. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, strong cartels like the Medellin and Cali cartels ran the drug trade in Colombia. But when law enforcement broke up these groups, it left a power void that new crime groups took advantage of. Otoniel took advantage of this lack of control by starting the Gulf Clan, also called the Clan del Golfo. This was a group of criminals who wanted to control drug trade routes, extortion, and illegal mining. Because of Otoniel's guidance and smart partnerships with other criminal groups, the Gulf Clan was able to quickly grow its power and become a major player in Colombia's criminal world. Under Otoniel's guidance, the Gulf Clan ran a reign of terror that made people in Colombia afraid. To get rid of enemies and show who was in charge, the group used brutal methods like assassinations, bombings, and mass killings. Otoniel's group also expanded into illegal activities like illegal gold mining and people trafficking, which added to their power and wealth. The Colombian government fought to stop the Gulf Clan from becoming a larger threat. Otoniel's ability to avoid being caught and keep control over large areas showed how smart and resourceful he was. The Gulf Clan's influence went beyond Colombia's borders because its illegal activities had a big effect on nearby countries and even the US. The group was a big player in the global drug trade because it was involved in drug trafficking networks that reached from Central America to North America. The Gulf Clan was able to keep running despite growing pressure from governments and law enforcement agencies because Otoniel was able to adapt to changing law enforcement strategies and maintain international connections. Even though he seemed unbeatable, Otoniel's rule finally faced big problems. With help from foreign partners, a group of Colombian security forces worked together to stop the Gulf Clan from running its business. Otoniel's empire started to fall apart as people started to gather information, do specific operations, and put pressure on the organization's financial networks. After escaping for years, Otoniel was finally caught in October 2022. It was a dramatic operation that turned a corner in Colombia's fight against organized crime. During the trial, prosecutor Francisco J. Navarro said that Mr. Usuga was Colombia's most dangerous drug dealer of the last 100 years. He called him the supreme leader of the Gulf Clan, which ruled violently and without mercy. He said that Mr. Usuga had killed an uncountable number of people. Several people from the Colombian government watched from the gallery. In 2021, the Colombian military caught Mr. Usuga in a remote forest hideout. At the time, President Iván Duque said that Mr. Usuga was the most feared drug trafficker in the world, and he compared his capture to the fall of Mr. Escobar in the 1990s. The president also said that the arrest meant the end of the Gulf Clan, but Mr. Usuga has been replaced by new leaders. Among the charges in New York and in southern Florida, which were linked, was a plot to send a lot of cocaine north by land and sea. The lawyers for Mr. Usuga said that he took responsibility for his crimes, but claimed that he was a child soldier in Colombia's civil war, which lasted for decades. Before he was sentenced, the defendant spoke to the court himself. He was wearing a khaki prison uniform and had a nicely trimmed gray beard. Through a translator, Mr. Usuga asked for forgiveness and told the young people of Colombia not to follow in his footsteps. He asked the United States to help bring peace to Colombia by supporting talks with all sides, including drug dealers. Judge Dora L. Irizarry scolded the defense lawyers for focusing on Mr. Suga's childhood, pointing out that she grew up in a rough public housing area in the South Bronx. The judge said that Mr. Sugaku didn't use his energy to get through hard times. Instead, he used it to get ahead in a violent business. Judge Irizarry said, "I see it every day when people waste their lives in front of me." As a part of his plea deal, Mr. Suge agreed to give up $216 million. At the end of his term, he will be sent back to Colombia to face other charges there. The rise and fall of Otoniel showed how complicated Colombia's fight against violence and crime linked to drugs is. His story shows how tempting and dangerous it can be to try to gain power by doing something wrong, even though catching him was a big win for law enforcement. The Gulf Clan and other criminal groups are still a threat to Colombia's security. Otoniel's legacy is a reminder of how hard it is for countries to fight organized crime, and how important it is to deal with the social and economic reasons that make it grow. Otoniel's story of how he went from being poor to becoming Colombia's most feared drug lord is a story that shows how complicated the drug trade's effects are on society. His ability to rise to power, stay in charge, and then fall shows how crime, power, and law enforcement work together in complicated ways. As Colombia works to make the future safer, Otoniel's story is still an important part of the country's ongoing fight for peace and security. As the riveting chronicle of Otoniel's tumultuous journey draws to a close, one can't help but reflect on the complex interplay of power, ambition, and the human psyche that propelled him to both unparalleled heights and a devastating downfall. What forces in society enable the rise of such figures? And what does their fall ultimately reveal about the delicate balance between law and lawlessness? As Colombia and the world continue to grapple with the legacy of Otoniel, one must wonder, have we truly learned from history's lessons? Or are we destined to witness the rise and fall of new titans driven by the same insatiable thirst for dominance? Share your thoughts in the comments section. That's it for today. Please like and share our videos. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon for regular updates.